Okay, I did my homework on Nakisha Irving Knox and find out that she attended historical black colleges. And I'm wondering, what did you learn there? Did you even learn much about the civil rights movement and how we are still in the same civil rights movement? And I attended Louisiana Tech, which is the sister university of Grambling. When I pledged Omega Psi Phi, I went through line, basically the pledge process with Grambling. And what I always noted or recognized is Grambling having smaller portion of people attending there every year there was campus shootings. And these are people who are trying to make changes for their families, by getting a college education. What has historical black colleges really taught y'all? With Mary McLeod Bethune, and her efforts, and with Harriet Tubman, just female leaders. And here you are now in a position of authority and can directly impact the protection of civil rights. I noticed that you are biased toward mothers. In your statement, whenever you ran for the office, you mentioned something about the judges treating females wrongly in the court, even the attorneys. And that was something that you wanted to change. But now that you're a judge, you're not being held accountable. And you're, in essence, promoting a ugly reflection upon women in the rights for equality, simply because you fail to yield to reason, you fail to rule logically without emotions, understanding that females, XX chromosomes, y'all have a hormone imbalance. And I feel sorry for women. I got 6 sisters and was a mother's boy, and I protect my mother, I protect my sisters. But what I learned through that process is a lot of times they don't come about being mature women. They're still very childish, and they try to pull off stuff that, being a grown person, they should not. And that's what I wonder. What have you actually learned at that white lawyer firm that you practice at? Are you indoctrinating their trend? But that's basically what you're doing. You're following their trend in some regards. Well, I know it's not dealing with civil rights. You sue for other issues. But as far as bringing civil rights to the forefront of being a problem with the judicial system, you are falling far short. And it's a reckless reckless trend that you are contributing to, with, let's say, the violation of fathers' rights, the violation of judicial code of conduct. You're trying to suppress a father's freedom of speech, rights, man. You're violating the law yourself in so many, and you are a judge who should know far more about the judicial system and the injustices that have plagued our people throughout Americans' conception. That's just unacceptable, Nakisha. Seriously, you have 2 children. What if you were withheld from your 2 children wrongly? How would you feel? How would you react? Would you just bow out, be a pushover to the system that has been unjust to the black people? Like I said, since beginning of the American system, do you not understand that slavery used to divide families, father from the children, in order to undermine the male authority within his family, to not make him the protector? That's what I am, especially for my children. And as you can see, I served. So my service was to fight for people who could not fight for themselves. And I just don't understand niggas in New Orleans. Goes back to the thing that white people said. The one thing that they feared was educated niggers, ignorant folks who don't yield to reason, unreasonable. So there's no sense of justice that has been through you, an individual who has taken on a position that has so much weight, has so much responsibility. You're acting irresponsible, escalating court causes, going off unsubstantiated evidence, trying to suppress my freedom of speech. HBCU graduate. Okay, Willie Lynch and what everyone needs to know.
Willie Lynch said, if you want to control your Negroes in Ohio, if you want to control them Negroes in Cleveland, find every petty difference you can muster.
Cardinal principles for making a Negro.
Now we're against each other from the east, from the west, from the north, from the south. We're against each other in terms of color. We're against each other in terms of those who are educated and those who are not. We're against each other from those that have money and those that are not. And then those of us who get some status as a councilman, a senator, a mayor, we're just senators and mayors of the plantation. We are in the big house. We're the house niggers and the ones in the field that don't have no job. They the field niggers.
And use it against each other. He said, put the light skin in Cleveland against the dark. Put the college educated against the ones who dropped out. Put the Zetas against the Sigma Gamma Rhos and the Deltas against the AKAs and the Kappas against the Qs and the Sigmas against the Alphas and the Iotas against the Grooves. Put the Christians against the Muslims and the Garveyites against the Socialists and the Nawabis against the Moors and the Nation of Islam against the Hebrews. And if you do this, they'll never come together.
And so we have to break this. Say, break it. Amen.
Well, a thought did come to mind. You know, military sends you through boot camp. I'm thinking possibly blacks and America in general needs a boot camp on the Willie Lynch doctrine, divisive tactics.
They have said that the Willie Lynch letter, now you understand, so everybody should have heard about the Willie Lynch letter. If you haven't, you really been sleeping life, because you should have heard something about that letter. Even Farrakhan read the letter during the Million Man March, so you should have heard something about this letter. You understand that the psychological effect of the Willie Lynch letter is what we're living today. In other words, we're living the letter today. So if you say the letter didn't exist, why are we living it? Why are we walking into it? If it doesn't exist, why are we going point by point? What y'all wrote, we actually doing it. The mindset exists.
In my bag here, I have a foolproof method for controlling your black slaves. I guarantee every one of you that if you installed it correctly, it will control the slaves for at least 300 years. My method is simple. I have outlined a number of differences among the slaves, and I take them differences and make them bigger. I use fear, distrust, and envy for control purposes. Take this simple little list of differences and think about it. On top of my list is age, but it's there only because it starts with an A. The second is color or shade. There's intelligence, size, sex.
Okay, I'm trying to figure out what is the best way to approach this topic here.
Chapter 4, the breaking process of the African woman.
God is the head of man, man the head of woman, woman the head of the child. That's the natural order. Willie Lynch said, let's reverse it. Turn the woman away from depending on the man and make her depend on us. She must find no black man to trust only us. You got to study that woman. And if you can get her like a horse when you're breaking it to eat out of your hand, then she'll make her children and break them for us. When God created her to depend on a man, and she's saying, I don't need a man for nothing.
What we do with horses is that we break them from one form of life to another. That is, we reduce them from their natural state in nature. Whereas nature provides them with the natural capacity to take care of their offspring, we break that natural string of independence from them, and thereby create a dependency status, so that we may be able to get from them useful production for our business and pleasure.
You got all these independent girls and dependent men.
I shall assure you that distrust is stronger than trust, and envy stronger than adulation, respect, or admiration.
And even if you bring a man in your house, which sometimes you do, he's in your house. Now that's deep, brother. So brothers and sisters, our homes now are torn down. Willie Lynch. Because Willie Lynch, 300 years ago, planned on turning nature around so that the woman would be the man. And we would be the dependent ones standing behind her and very afraid.
You must use the female versus the male and the male versus the female. They must love, respect, and trust only us. Let's Make a Slave is a study of the scientific process of man-breaking and slave-making. It describes the rationale and results of the Anglo-Saxons' ideas and methods of ensuring the master-slave relationship. The origin and development of a social being called the Negro.
He said, I got a foolproof idea that if you do this, the Negroes will never be able to unite for 300 to 1,000 years.
Shall carry on and will become self-refueling and self-generating for hundreds of years, maybe thousands.
Cleveland, you should feel embarrassed that white folk can go to sleep at night in this city after what they did to Tommy Rice.
He said, I take my slaves and I look at their differences and I multiply them. I make their differences bigger. Turn the young against the old and the old against the young. Still going on. But he said, you put your sperm in one of the black women, she produce a brownish baby. You got to reverse the natural tendency of the black woman to depend on the black man.
How can white America sleep so peacefully with 40 million disgruntled blacks amongst them? How can they sleep without an iota of worry of what you might do? I'll tell you how they can sleep. Because they have sown so many petty differences in Cleveland that before you ever get around to fighting them once, you gotta fight each other 1,000 times. Brothers and sisters, it's time to put the differences to the side.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Speak Up. In a moment, you're going to hear from kids who stood up to stop bullying wherever it exists. By the end of this program, we hope everyone realizes that bullying is not a rite of passage or a harmless part of growing up. It's wrong. It's destructive. And we can all prevent it. I care about this issue deeply, not just as the president, but as a dad. That's why a year ago we held the first ever White House Summit on bullying. And since then, we've partnered with schools and parents to raise awareness. But we've all got more to do. Everyone has to take action against bullying. Everyone has an obligation to make our schools and our communities safe for all our kids. And if we work together, I know we can.
And I'm pissed off. So let me tell you why I'm mad. First and foremost, I'm mad because I have so many men in my life that are amazing, beautiful, great men that are beautiful, amazing, great fathers. And they are not allowed to father their children because these bitches won't let them. Are they women? Absolutely not. They don't deserve the right to be called women. Are they girls? I don't know, because they're acting like it. But these bitches are out here prohibiting these fathers from being fathers. And this is what I believe. I read an article recently about how women have these daddy complexes. They have these daddy complexes because their father wasn't in their life. And so when their child has a relationship with the father, they're jealous because I want that. Like, you're supposed to love me like you love our child. You're supposed to love me like that. You know, what happened to me? Why don't you love me? Or why doesn't my child love me as much as he or she loves you? Jealousy. How you gonna be jealous of your own child because your child has love? Shouldn't you be ecstatic? Shouldn't you be excited that your child has a father that's unlike the dad that you had? Shouldn't you want your child to be with their father? Shouldn't you want your child to have a relationship with their dad? You should want to, but these bitches out here, they don't get the dignified word of women. These bitches out here are prohibiting the fathers from being fathers for no reason at all except for pure jealousy that they don't get the love that the child is getting from this man. Get over it. To all of my men, to all of my fathers, to all of my brothers that are listening to this, that are wondering, like, but what can I do? This is a woman's world. I live in Massachusetts, and in Massachusetts, a man has to damn near prove his baby mama to be a crackhead before he can get custody of the child. What y'all need to do, I swear to sweet baby Jesus, I am fighting for every single last one of you. I think, like, my purpose on earth is to be a man advocate or a father advocate, because I used to be that. I used to be that woman, but I was all bark and no bite. Like, yeah, you ain't never seen your daddy. You can't go see him. Mad because he came home at 10, 11 o'clock at night, like they don't have school the next day. And then the next day they're with their daddy. I can't do it to my kids. I can't watch my kids sit there and cry out for their father and for me to say, no, you'll never see him again. I might say it, or I have said it in the past. I never followed through with it. I can't do that. I couldn't. I could never do that. No matter how much I wanted to, no matter how angry I was about the fact that he would bring them home late, that he wouldn't take the call when I'm trying to find out where they are. When your child is spending time with their father, it took me a long time for me to understand this, but when your child is spending time with their father, let them spend time with their father, because he ain't calling, blowing up your phone, trying to figure out what man, what nigga, what dude you got around his kids, but you trying to figure out what women around your kid. You need to figure out who is in your life that don't need to be around your child instead of worried about the daddy. And here comes an amazing dad now, taking care of his daughter. One of the things I want to say to these men is keep a journal. Anytime that anything happens, good happens, bad happens, the baby mama drunk, the baby mama did this, baby mama did that, your daughter, your son don't want to go home, your son, your daughter said XYZ is going on at the house, you pick up your child, the hair's not done. If Halle Berry can sit here and have the court order her baby father not to do anything to that child's hair, best believe that your journal will keep track of everything and anything that's going on in your life, so you can sit there and present the proof of this deadbeat, neglectful, ASS, BITCH. Children in the car that respect the babies.
Okay, this is just for documentation of all the different issues I've been having concerning racism. I worked for Northrop Grumman. I tested first class, but was given third class by Bob Terry, shorting me of pay, which I was over the Bob Hope fleets, supervising the work of first class electronic techs and electricians. Here, I joined the union out in California, IBEW, and was indoctrinated January 18th, to which they gave me the classification inside journeyman wireman, but refused to give me the pay that came along with it, which was $48 an hour. They kept me at $28 an hour. Here's basically an arrest in Shreveport where my stepson ran over me with the car, and all the different issues I had to face with the courts, the internal affairs, denying that I had a claim, going before the Civil Service Board, and they telling me basically I had a lawsuit against the city, to which I declined because Shreveport is my home, and you know I'll forgive them. But here's a citation I got for speeding, photo enforced speeding ticket, to which they could not identify the driver, being a moving violation, which is mandatory by Louisiana laws. They choose to abuse it, and they confiscated my car, which had my back brace device that was supposed to help my bone rejuvenate. Here, I basically was smoking a cigar. Cops rolled up on me, took the item out of my hand, asked me what it was, and then wanted to charge me with simple possession of marijuana. These are just 3 of the 6 court appearances that I had to make before the charges got dropped, because never did the officers appear in court. This one here, I worked for Shell Offshore and had the good old boys basically give me a bad rating of my performance, whereas I was on Brutus TLP, and they had a black guy that was over the ship, and they didn't want another to be under another black guy, so they blackballed me and didn't give me my position after internship. Here I worked for Clary E&I out of Texas. Had an issue with the foreman. He was needed at another job site. I suggested that they have a older guy who was definitely had the experience be foreman. Lines were crossed, and they showed me their racist side, and I declined to work for them anymore after that. Here is my invention. I came up and submitted to Universal Consulting Agencies, whereas I came up with the throat wrap, providing a means of applying a hot or cold pack to the region of the area in '97. And in 2000, Thermacare came out with their product, which is the 3 years times that it takes to get a patent. Here, my lawyer lost his license, failed to communicate with clients, resulting in 8 patents and trademark applications going abandoned. And this is just documentation to my payments to Bode, George Bode. And here's another one that shows that his license was suspended. Here, presently, issues I'm going through in court concerning my kids. I've written in White House. I have written and got official documents from the city of Shreveport concerning my ex whenever she got arrested for filing a false report. State of Louisiana, informing them of what's going on as far as the judges not abiding by the judicial code of conduct. That was the attorney general right there. This is the governor. And then my many correspondence with the Judicial Commission of Louisiana, Office of Special Counsel, who is turned a blind eye to my complaints of judicial misconduct, saying that they were unmerited. You can see how many times I've written them, trying to, figure out what's the thing that I'm missing, possibly. Here's my courts for recently going for my kids, and she's basically saying, page 6, 7, whatever, that I just mainly want to see my kids. And page 6 or 7, the judge concludes that there's no violence and no reason for a restraining order, and was gonna place a civil injunction, but whenever I objected, because she was just going off of allegations of a admitted liar who was charged with filing a false report in a court of law. She took offense to that and subjected me to an 18-month restraining order from my kids when there was no violence or threat of domestic violence present. So here, this is when we're talking about the protective order. I was standing up for my rights, what they're not used to here, with people knowing their rights and forcing others to abide by them. There's a bully system here enabling. So trying to show you the many, this is not random, the racism that I've been facing here, and then the abuse of power from my own people is just not acceptable. And in my effort to make Louisiana better than when I came here, born here, served the Louisiana Army National Guard here, I'm addressing unacceptable activities. So just to document some of the issues I've been facing. I'm choosing my battles, definitely. Okay, here's my EEOC claim against Costco Corporation, who they told me after 3-month time I would go on salary. Well, I would go on get my sales commission, but they didn't put me on commission until after 6 months. The EEOC gave me a notice to sue because they said they didn't find anything that they had done, but that doesn't mean that they didn't do anything wrong. So that's where I've come up about the understanding that the only way evil prevails is when good people do nothing. And that's what's happening ever since the civil rights. A lot of people in positions, they're just not doing their jobs.